Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Dallas Songwriters Association business meeting. Our special guest tonight is Don Wall, who has quite an illustrious career and a lot of interesting things he's going to share with us. He's been a member in great standing with the DSA. He is now living in Nashville. He's going to share some of his experiences with us. So with no further ado, let's welcome Don Wall.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, Don. Good to see you again.
Great, Bill. Thank you. So good to be with everybody. Yeah, been listening to the weather over there. It sounds like you got some really bad weather. It's a little bit rainy here in Nashville, but not nearly as bad as it's been over there in Texas. So yeah, Kimberly and I just moved to Nashville. It was last May, so we've been here now about 8 months. And first impressions. The weather is a lot better than it is in Texas, especially in the summer. It's cooler. And we live in an area which is very much the hills of Tennessee, and there are some fantastic parks around here and with wonderful hiking trails. And so we spend a lot of time hiking. We do that 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes more. And it's just great to get out there in the woods, and it's very refreshing and exhilarating and relaxing. And so that's one of the big things that we like to do. So we came here, we moved here, and we found a nice place in Bellevue, which is just west of downtown. And we can really get to Music Row or Broadway in about 20 minutes. So it's a very short drive. And that's where all the action is happening. One of the places that we spent a fair amount of time is the Nashville Songwriters Association International, NSAI. They have a lot of great programs for songwriters and weekly in-person meetings, which we go to often. Things like Pitch to Publisher, where you go in with a song that you've done. It could be just a guitar or vocal. Sometimes people go in with fully produced songs. And they basically will listen to a verse chorus, and that's pretty much it. And then sometimes if they work for a publishing company, they may say, I'll take a copy of that if they like it, or they'll pass. They may have something to say. They're always encouraging. No one is really hard on anybody. And they either just say, oh, I like that, I'll take it, or I like it, but I'm going to pass. That's about as far as I've gotten so far. I haven't gotten anything taken, but I've gotten some nice comments from some of these publishers and writers. Then they'll bring in successful writers who have scored hit songs and cuts with major artists, and those people are always interesting to talk to, and like that a lot. So one of the things that we like to do is go to the rounds. A round is kind of like what we did with Ricky Jean at the Italian restaurant up there in Plano, where you got basically 3 or 4 people, and you go around. Everyone gets a song, and then you go to the next person, and you go around, and you get usually, it depends on where you're at. You may get 3 or 4 songs in that kind of a setup. There's other situations which are showcases where you might get a half hour or 40 minutes, and you can present a lot more stuff doing that. The rounds, there's a hierarchy, it seems, in the places. We've started off with, there's a place called the Commodore Grill. It's actually a very good place to play. A lot of people play there, even very successful people, because I think they just have an affinity for it, because it's a great place to start. You can get in on that. You just have to start with the open round at the end of the night, where you just sign up and anyone can do that. After that, then you have to kind of make friends with the host, and they'll put you on and they'll schedule you, and that's when you get to actually do a round. So those are really good experiences as well. And you get some feedback because people hear your song. The great thing about the Commodore, for example, because it's a hotel, You've got all kinds of people who just happen to be visiting Nashville. It's really close to Vanderbilt, so there could be people who have kids that go to Vanderbilt, or business people who have things to do in Nashville. And so this is where they would go and have dinner, and there's live music every night of the week. And we found a bunch of places like that. There's one here in Bellevue where we live, at the Bar Louie, and a friend of ours runs that, and usually get a chance to do that show about once a month. So there's lots of shows, lots of opportunities. Of course, in Nashville, there's great music to go see, and it's not, the Ryman is probably our favorite place to go see a show, but there's a lot of smaller venues that are more like, I guess you would think of them as more like nightclubs, where they have some food and beverages and, you know, tables and things like that. And a lot of those places will have really high-level entertainment, but it's a smaller venue, and so it's kind of intimate. And then after the show, very often, you can go up and talk to the artist. They'll shake hands and take pictures and sign autographs if you want one. But they're very friendly, and they'll always talk to you. A couple of the things that we've also done, which we've really enjoyed, are some of the festivals. I heard Bobby was talking about Deep Ellum in Dallas, which was a great festival for us the last couple of years, and it looks like it's going to be really good again. Well, here they have something called Tin Pan South, which is a songwriters festival, which lasts most of a week. And they take up over all the venues, the Bluebird, the Third and Lindsley, all these nightclub type of places. And they will have artists every sort of afternoon through into the evening for a full week at all these different places, like 100 different artists at like 12 different venues. And then during the day, they have seminars. They have things like whatever you might be interested in. Things like writing for sync, or co-writing, or, you know, all the kinds of workshop kinds of things. Many things similar to what we do with DSA. And they bring in guest speakers, and that's a lot of fun. In fact, the Tin Pan South is coming up in a month or so. And then there's another one, the Americana Fest, which we did last year, and I'm going to do that one again this year. Another first impression of Nashville is it's not just country music. Commercial country, like what you hear on the commercial radio stations that play country, that's obviously a big product coming out of here. But as far as Nashville goes, it's kind of a mecca of musicians from around the country and all different styles of music. We've gotten made a lot of friends who play blues, who play jazz, it's just all different kind of, there's you know, piano bar type stuff, easy listening. It's just not country. And while the commercial country business, I guess, is probably the biggest moneymaker in Nashville, and kind of what brings in the tourists, I guess. But it's really a center for all kinds of music and musicians. And so we have a chance to rub elbows with all kinds of different musicians. And there's all different levels, you know. Sure, it'd be nice to write a hit song that... It'd be nice to write a hit song that makes it on commercial country radio, but, you know, there's so many other people who are doing their own thing. One of our good friends that we've met, his name is Les Kerr. He's from Mississippi, and he has a very much like, it's called Les Kerr and the Bayou Band. So it's kind of a Dixieland type of a thing, and he writes very much kind of in that style. He grew up in Mississippi, spent a lot of time in New Orleans, and so he does sort of a Dixieland type of thing. And just the other day for Mardi Gras, he did his show at the Bluebird for like the 32nd year in a row. And he's just a great guy. We met him like the first week we were here. and very nice. He's helped me to meet other people and get into different places, and it's just that way. So so the networking is good because everybody's really pretty friendly, and so it's like I don't know. We when we were in Dallas, when I was in Dallas, and we were getting going with the DSA, we had that kind of camaraderie and all. And I would say that really the only difference here is that it's a little bit more magnified, and there's a lot more people doing it. The whole community, really. When you go to the grocery store, the guy that's checking you out probably plays guitar better than you do, or better than I do. That's not hard, but it's like that. The musicians are everywhere. And guys that are waiting tables or gals that are waiting tables, they're also singer-songwriters, and they're all trying their best. So I got a couple more things I want to talk about, but I'd be happy to, anytime anybody has a question or just jump in and ask, and I'll be happy to answer anything that you want. But I'll just keep going. So anyway, co-writing, that's something that I really didn't do much of in Dallas, but I'm beginning to do it here. That's an interesting process. I'm sure many of you have done it. I haven't done too much of it, and it's kind of daunting, actually. You don't know really where to begin, but what I'm finding is that a lot of it, you start off with maybe a title, I think I read one time that the Gershwins, they would talk, and they wouldn't really start writing a song until they came up with a title. And I think that's the way a lot of people do it. Come up with a title, and then you have an idea, and then I mean, really, if you think about a song, it's like two verses, a chorus and a bridge, or maybe a pre-chorus or something like that. But it's really not that much. So once you get an idea, once you kind of figure out what key you're going to do it in, what type of a song, you kick around ideas of what you want to say in the song, and then you can do it. So I've had, over the last 3 weeks, I guess I've done 2 co-writes with the same guy. And after about 3 hours, we have a song. Now, is it a great song? Probably not. Is it a song? Yes, it's a song. And so that was one of the things that I was leery of. I was like, well, I mean, writing and writing and writing is great, and you do get better, but I was like, that sort of forced action of getting together in a room, really without much except the intention, it takes shape. You just start talking about what's going on and what you find common interest, and maybe you get a title, and then you start sketching out something, and then before long, then you're working on something, and once you start working on it, it starts to take shape. So co-writing is something that I was a little shy in the beginning, but I'm beginning to embrace it, and I'm sure that after a while I'll be really comfortable with it. It's just like any other kind of collaborative thing. Leave the ego at the door, and just don't be too possessive of your words or your phrases, and just kind of work it together. And then in the end, when you get your song, it's really hard to say, well, who did what? Who wrote what line, who came up with the tune. It really all it just kind of happens. So that's been quite interesting. The other thing that...
So when I have a question about that. So,
Sure.
so when you co-write with somebody and you finish the song and stuff, do y'all sign a co-write agreement?
Well, that's a really good question. With this guy, so far, I haven't done that, but I kind of think that we should. I did a fair amount of research about that in advance, and I had another experience before this guy with the NSAI people put me together with a guy that was in Rochester, New York. So everything we did was through Zoom. And we started working on a song. It was kind of redoing a song that he already had more or less sketched out. He had kind of a tune and he had some ideas. And mostly I was working with him on the lyric. And it seemed really, really pretty collegial. And then we got to a point where we were just about done with the song, pretty much ready to have it critiqued, you know, or evaluated. And he said something like, you know, well, you know, if this song doesn't go anywhere, then I'm going to start over with somebody else. And I was like, what? Well, what about what we just did, you know? And so that didn't work out. And, you know, I asked questions about that to the NSAI people in charge, and they said that was bad etiquette. In Nashville, the etiquette is if you're in the room and you're working on a song, then you get a share of that song. So equal shares. So you could be the guy that gets pizza, but if you're in the room when the song is written, you get a share. So as long as you're, you know, a participant. So that's a good question. It's pretty informal. I find that a lot of people are very informal about it. Of course, once you get to a point where if a song starts to get traction, or you do any kind of a work tape or a demo and somebody likes it, well then you have to have an agreement. You better get an agreement pretty quick. So I'm still not sure exactly about the etiquette. Like, do you break out the agreement, like is say, hi, my name is, here's an agreement? No, you don't really do it like that. It's kind of informal, but I think you're right, Barb.
I know that'd be kind of like when you're dating somebody, before you even do much of anything, you say, here's your prenup agreement.
True.
You know, so there's a fine line of where that comes, you know. And I would say when you think the song is ready to be critiqued or whatever, then I think probably you should get an agreement together.
Right. Now some of these writers are turning out like three or four songs a week. So I mean, I suppose once you get it going like that, if it's a machine type of a thing, then then it's a lot easier to say, okay, you know, here's the agreement. Let's just all sign the agreement, and then you just put it in a folder, and then you see what happens. And I think that's probably a good idea. So
so the other question I have to ask you is, like, what PRO are you a member of?
ASCAP.
And so have you been to the ASCAP offices, or have you made a connection with the ASCAP membership guy there?
No, I haven't yet. That's on my list of things to do. The list is endless. I mean, there's Song Trust. There's, of course, ASCAP. You get your songs, and even if they're not recorded yet, if there's just a guitar vocal, like a rough cut, if you will, even those songs, you want to get them registered, because then that way you have a record of your song. And copyright is another question. Now, that was a question I had early on with some of the people that I go for advice, and copywriting can be very expensive if you have that many songs. So, you know, maybe you don't copyright it until it gets to the point where it's going to be recorded or something like that. So
Don, it's Wayne. I believe conventional wisdom on copyright. You know, first of all, register with your PRO. That gives you some security. But you copyright when you get to the point where there's a good chance of you doing business. Somebody wants to get a hold on your song, copyright it. If somebody's even considering cutting it, copyright it. Things like that. If there's some sort of business reason to have that added governmental protection. But beyond that, usually just registration is supposed to be enough.
If you're handing out a CD, then that's an easy way to, if they're all written by you, everything on the CD is written by you, the same author, you can copyright that all in a collection.
Yep.
And then once you get a license to put something in film and television on an individual song, you can par that out and copyright that individual song. But, you know, having it copyrighted as a collection is a way to save money, and you can do that easily.
Yeah, I think I did that once with a group of songs that we recorded in Dallas with some friends, and there was like 6 songs, and I think I did the copyright for all 6 songs.
Yeah.
That's a way to save money. I heard there's some drawbacks to that, but again, nothing really, in terms of the business aspect, nothing really happens until there is a sale or some kind of business or an interest. Otherwise, it's just, you know, you could spend a lot of money doing demos and dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and it may not be necessary, you know, so.
Right.
So I have had one experience so far. Yes.
Quick question. Is this being recorded?
Yes.
Is this, Barb, is this recorded?
Yes, Michael,
Barbie?
I'm streaming it to Facebook, just the talk, not the critiques.
Okay, it'll be on Facebook? Okay,
Yes.
because my battery's about to tap out.
Okay, yeah, go look
I
at
wanna
it's
see
live on
BC.
Facebook. Yeah,
I can't look at it now, but I can look at it later, right?
right. As it'll take after I stop it, it'll take a minute for it to whatever it does before it'll actually appear again. So, but it'll eventually appear on there.
Don, I eventually will have some questions for you.
Oh, great. So I have recorded one song so far since I've been here. And it's one that I wrote. I started writing it back in Dallas, and I think I rewrote it here. And it's a Western swing tune, and I like it. And I had it critiqued and rewrote it a couple of times. And so I mentioned Les Kerr. Well, a fellow named Brian Cumming plays saxophone with Les. And it turns out that Brian has his own recording studio, and he plays like every instrument. He's got quite a background himself, and he toured for 4 years with Sha Na Na, I think,
Wow.
as a guitar player, even though his main instrument is saxophone. That's how good he is. And he's got another group called the Wanna Beatles that got nominated for a Grammy, I guess, within the last 3 or 4 years for something they did related to the Beatles. And he's extremely talented. So all I did was send him my guitar vocals, probably what Joe would do. And he laid down the rhythm tracks, and then I went in and played, and then I sang, and I wanted fiddles on it. And I got reacquainted with a fella who I met in Burleson, Texas, when he was like 9 years old, and I was 40 when I first started taking guitar lessons. And I was taking guitar lessons from the same guy that he was taking fiddle lessons from. And I really liked him. He was a good kid. And, well, now he is the fiddle player and mandolin player for the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. His name is Ross Holmes. So he's a heavyweight. And so his father, I guess, commutes between Texas and here, and he noticed that we were moving here, and he said something to me on Facebook, and so I was able to reconnect with Ross, and I got him to actually, he agreed to play fiddle on my song, and that was amazing. So I have a song, so I have one song, and so now I'm in the process of trying to see what I can do with it. You know, of course, it's on Spotify and all those places. And it seems like that's really not enough. So you have to kind of reach out. So part of my marketing concept is to make contact with like the Western swing organizations. There's some in Facebook. There's other, you know, it's a kind of a subgenre of country music. It's pretty old-timey, but it's very Texas, and it's, of course, Bob Wills and all that. And so I'm going to be trying to send it out or make contact with several people, with people that might want to record it. A couple come to mind: Asleep at the Wheel, even swing guys like Brian Setzer, or doesn't Michael Bublé do swing sometimes? You know what I mean? You just start thinking like, okay, who might want this song? So that's a big part of the whole thing that we're doing, is to try to figure out, you know, how do you almost reverse engineer it. It's like, okay, you got a song, what would be the ideal thing to do with the song? Because, you know, I'm not going to become a star. There's no way. It ain't going to happen. But if somebody that is known did the song, then maybe something could happen. Another thing that I'm interested in, I'm pursuing, beginning to pursue, is sync. Because, I mean, I don't know if you all been watching any of these shows like Yellowstone or all the Taylor Sheridan stuff, the 1923 and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of music involved. And so I'm thinking that there's opportunities there. You know what I mean? There's like, somebody needs music, and they like original music, so you never know. So I'm gonna just, since I've been talking about it, let me play a little bit of this song, and we can talk some more, take some questions. Hang on. Turn it up a little bit. Okay, here we go.
Time as special as a redbud in full bloom. You're my ice cream melting in the sunshine. You set my heart a beating, boom, boom, boom. I just wanna tell you just how much I love you. Sing it from my heart. You're my one and only. I love the way you love me. No fear, no jealousy, no meanness, no judgment, no anger, no regret. We share sweetness and passion between us ever since the day we met. I just wanna tell you just how much I love you. Sing it from my heart. You're my one and only. I love the way you love me. I'm in love with me and you. My heart's aflutter. We're happy with each other. We love our time together. Let's make it last forever. 'Cause you're in love with me and I'm in love with you. Wanna tell you just how much I love you. Sing it from my heart. You're my one and only. I love the way you love me. I'm in love with me and you. You're in love with me and you. We're in love with me and you. It's true.
There it is.
Good stuff, Don.
You need to send that to the Time Jumpers.
Exactly. They're on the list. They are totally on the list. In fact, they're part of the inspiration for that, because we went and saw the Time Jumpers a few months ago, and they have 2 or 3 fiddles. Now, one of the things that Ross did for that song is that he did 3 parts, so it's like trip fiddles, and so yeah, Time Jumpers, that's perfect, and they're definitely on our list. And so that's where the networking comes in. So you want to get it in front of people, and you know, you just don't know. But the Time Jump, now that song, it's me singing, but it could be a woman singing, because it's not really gender specific. So the Time Jumpers have
Don, it could be male female duet too.
Could be, yeah, exactly. Now the Time Jumpers, they have an amazing female vocalist who's working with them, Wendy Moten, who I think she came in second on The Voice or something a couple of years ago, or within a couple of years. And so she's like their lead singer now. And so she's everywhere. We saw her at the Americana Fest. We saw her at the Grand Ole Opry. We went to a show at the Grand Ole Opry. She was there. So, you know, you start seeing these people everywhere, and you start thinking, oh, you know, you have to find the right way to, I guess, to approach and that kind of thing. But that's what friends are for. So, you know, since Ross...
Are they out of Nashville, or where are they from?
Who, the Time Jumpers?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in Nashville. They play at 3rd and Lindsley, which is one of those nightclub types of places, like every Monday night.
Why don't you ask her, you'll pay her to sing the girl vocal demo on that song.
I could
then
do
once
that.
she's got it learned, she may sing it in her band.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah. So that's kind of on me to kind of push it out there, and, you know, make friends, and, you know, just, you know, see what happens. And it's like fishing, you know.
She's probably like everybody else. She could use a few extra bucks in cash, you know. So
Exactly.
just pay her to sing the demo on it.
Yes. Now, interestingly, I did pay a guy to sing a demo on that song, and I showed it to, and I played it for one of my friends, and he said, you know, I can't really hear much difference between his voice and your voice on the song. So I was like, well, okay, then, you know, what's the point? So
right, you've got the guy demo, but you said that it could also be sung by a girl.
sure.
So if you're pitching it to a girl, you need a girl's vocal on it.
Right.
You know, see if it's in the right key for them to sing or whatever, you know.
Yep.
You
Exactly.
know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Don, do you know what the going rate is for musicians to do a track on your demos?
I think a lot of, like, the vocalist was like $100. So I think you can like for one song, you can get most musicians probably to work on one song for about $100. I think that's about, you know, more for, you know, depending on their rates. Everyone has different rates.
Yeah.
And like Brian, you know, working in his studio, because he does the saxophone, he did all the tracks and the mixing. I did have another guy master it, but yeah, like, you know, he has a rate. I'm probably comparable to what Joe does or something, like $60 an hour, no matter what's going on. Right. So, you know, these guys they're fast. That's the other thing, is the people in Nashville are very fast. Very fast. We went and we saw a recording session where this was not a nationally known songwriter, but she was a songwriter that had songs that she wanted to get demos of, and she actually wanted to do the vocal for her own posterity, for her kids or grandkids. And so there was like a 6-piece band in the studio. Everyone is in their own room. They can all hear each other, of course, through, you know, headphones. And they kind of hear the song, and then they say, okay, and then they just talk a little bit of, you know, who's gonna do what fill where. And then within two takes, they've got the song down. They can literally lay down the instrumental part of the songs with just with a vocal guide track, let's say, that would be redone after. They can do like 5 songs in about 3 hours. It's literally amazing how fast they all work together. And so that's one of the things you get here that I think that's one of the real advantages of being here is there's just so much talent. And as Barbara says, everybody needs money. So everybody's available to work to some degree. Now, it may cost a little bit more. Now, having said that, a friend of mine, another guy that we've met and become friendly with, he's a blues artist. In fact, he had an album, his name is Tim Gartland, and his album, which he put out last year, it's called Truth, and it was on the contemporary blues charts for like 5 months. And he told me that he always, he gets the best musicians that he can afford for every track. And he actually got Wendy Moten to sing on his tracks. So yeah, she's available.
Well, Don, I gotta say, I appreciate you saying like Joe does all those times.
Okay. Well, I know you do, and
That's what we do here. Same rates, almost, you know.
same kind of thing.
My name a lot. I appreciate you responding to the big payment I gave you 2 weeks ago.
No problem. Well, I know, like, Harry, I don't think Harry's here tonight, but I know he's a good customer of yours, isn't he, Joe?
He has been, yes, and he's a very talented man.
Absolutely. So another thing that I've been doing, you'll remember I started writing the blogs for the DSA website when Kimberly and I started traveling with the COVID. You know, we literally hit every one of the lower 48 states in about 2 years, often camping, and that's where I wrote Love in a Sleeping Bag. And anyways, I called those blogs Stories with a Beat, and I've also done some video interviews that have become like Stories with a Beat in a kind of a video sense. And so another guy that we just met, he was playing at the Commodore, and then I went. This is another thing that's amazing. The Musicians Union, once a month, they get together. They all just kind of congregate at the Union Hall, and people will bring in a song cold. They may have it charted, you know, the numbers, the Nashville numbers, and then they'll pass out the charts, and then they'll start working on the song as if in a recording studio. And we did that with my song, Me and You. And I tried it at different tempos and things. And there'd be there's a drummer, there'd be a bass player, a couple of guitar players, a piano or a keyboard. Depending on who shows up, there may be a fiddle player or some other instrument. So this guy that we saw at the Commodore, he was there one of the nights that we were that I went to this Musicians Union thing, and his name is Jeff Dayton, and real friendly guy, really nice. He had a couple songs that he was getting critiqued, well, not critiqued, working up with the group for potential recording, and he said he was Glenn Campbell's band leader for 15 years. So, you know, he met him down in Phoenix and worked with Glenn pretty much up near the end of his life. And Jeff's got like 15 albums and really generous guy. So I did an interview with him through Zoom. And so that's also available on my website. We built a website. It's at donwall.net. I hope you'll check it out. And it's got some of my work tapes on there. It's got a few pictures. It's got some videos from songs, and it's got these the blog, which is the Stories with the Beat. Sometimes, and I'm doing a newsletter once a month, sort of like once every month and whenever. So now the Stories with the Beat, it could be written or it might be a video thing. So I'm doing that too. And that's turning out to be pretty good, because while I thought that some of these people would be almost unapproachable, they're very approachable. So I have a Stories with a Beat. It's on the website with Jeff. It's also on my YouTube channel. You can check that out. I did one with Les Kerr, and I haven't put it all together yet, but I did one with Ross Holmes, the guy from Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. So that's pretty much it. We're having a great time. Kimberly's doing well. She seems to be liking it. We have a nice apartment, and we're just having a ball. So, questions?
I've got a comment. That was really a great interview you did with Jeff Dayton. I just really, really like that a lot.
Well, thanks, Bill.
I'm glad.
One of the things that I want to do is kind of, it's not just because I want to dig into the songwriting, you know, because that's kind of what that's our common ground. And so just things that you learn, or everybody's got their anecdotes or their stories, things that made a difference along the way. So, yeah, I've got one that's almost done with Tim Gartland, the blues guy. That's pretty interesting. He's a guy that, because, you know, every one of us has a good story, a backstory of who we are. And I mean, that's the way, the nature of the world. Everyone's got their own story. And Tim, he got a degree in college in economics, but he wanted to be a blues harmonica player, a harp guy. And he moved to Chicago, found that, as to use his phrase, a skinny white guy, he didn't do very well in Chicago, which is like loaded with, you know, the highest level blues players. But he hung in there, but he ended up getting a job with a fledgling company that turned out to be Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And he kind of grew with the company, went to Kansas City, then Boston, playing music everywhere, and was able to retire at like 47 years old and move to Nashville. So now he is a full-time artist, you know, so a lot of good stories out there.
Wow. Well, I enjoyed the stories that Jeff Dayton gave. I didn't know exactly what to expect, but the fact that he had been able to spend that much time with Glenn Campbell, there was so much conversation and it was so casual. I just thought it was really, really a smooth broadcast. I liked it a lot.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, Jeff is a great talker with a lot of great stories, and you just kind of wind them up and let them go. That's the way it is. Wayne.
Hey, Don. This is kind of maybe a different take on everything. Obviously, especially if you're going to the NSAI functions and so on, you're working on the craft of songwriting, and you know, and I know as well as anybody that you can really learn a lot about that songwriting skill through the NSAI, the entire organization. But you know, I was just thinking about, you know, all the different skills that it takes to do what you're doing. You know, a networking skill is a skill all of its own as well, and obviously that's very important to you at this point. But when you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, you know, I'm working on my songwriting skills and my networking skills. Have you found that you've been able to work on the other core skills for any of us, being a better vocalist, being a better instrumentalist, being, you know, in addition to being a songwriter, those skills, being a, you know, stage performer, things like that. Have you concentrated very much? I'm not saying you have to work on those so much, but those are the kind of skills that I've often seen people get so lost in the networking and so on, they forget to keep those skills up. So I'm just wondering what you've been doing there, or what you've seen, or what your plans are.
Right. Really good insight on all of that, because it's a balancing act. When we look at each week, it's like you look at the nights where you've got something going, and then I get to the point where I like not having to go to some writer's round or whatever, so that I can focus on other things. And some of those things are the core skills. Guitar playing, just because I'm playing so much, I think my guitar playing is getting better. But I've thought about certain things that I would like to work on, and haven't sought out a teacher yet, but I may, because there's a lot of the people that play also teach, and so
Are you doing
haven't
much
quite-
ensemble playing?
huh?
Are you doing much ensemble playing with one or two or three other people?
Not as much as I would like to, but that's like going to the union was good that way, because then you got a whole band to play with. I haven't really found a group of friends yet that I can sit around with and just play and hammer out, different things. That's something I'm working on. Working on the vocals again. I do it on my own in terms of trying to, especially once you get in that recording booth and you kind of hear your whatever you do, and then you say, well, that note's not really quite right, and it just forces you to focus in more on the exact nature of notes and nuance too. And so, yeah, that's a big learning curve. Getting better on the guitar, getting better on the vocals, kind of putting it all together. I'm finding that doing it a lot helps. I think my skills are getting better. I think they could get better faster with the right coaching or the right teachers. So yeah, I think so.
Thank you. Next.
Oh, another I mentioned this book, which this is called How to Make It in the New Music Business. It's got by a guy named Ari Herstand, and he has like a monthly blog or something, and this is the 3rd edition of this thing, by the way. He has something called Ari's Take, which is like a monthly blog. You can find it.
He actually did a Zoom thing today at 3 or something, and I missed it because I was at the grocery store and I didn't make it back in time.
Oh, okay. So you know about this guy.
Yeah.
We met him.
Yeah.
We met him last year at the Tin Pan South at one of the conferences, and he just had all this really good practical advice. Like he has a list. It's like the 25 things you need to do before you release a single or an album. And that's like, it's taking care of business, basically,
Yeah.
making sure that everything is registered properly, and then you have to do your marketing and all that. Now, Kimberly is very good at that. That's part of, her skill set is marketing, so she's helpful.
Well, lucky you. Thank you so much, Don, for sharing your experience with us. That's it was really great of you to come and talk to us again. We've missed you, buddy, and we follow you with your email blog that you send to us. We like the stories of Don Wall.
I just signed up, by the way, Don.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, donwall.net is the website. The newsletter is all tied in with that. You can just, if you send me an email, send me your email address, and I'll make sure that you get the newsletter. And it's great. It's great fun. It's great to be part of the music community. My experience with the Dallas Songwriters has been great and continues. And it was real nice of Harry to throw me on the show the other day. I reached out to him when I saw that he was doing that again. And I said, hey, I'd like to do that sometime. And then like within an hour, he sent me a message saying that Eric Summer or somebody that was going to do it had to cancel out. And he said, can you do it tonight? So I had like 2 hours to get ready to do it. But as Harry
And-
said, hey, it's showbiz.
Yeah, and you did a great job. So that was
Oh,
super. And
thanks.
we really appreciate it.
We had a lot
And,
of fun. It was
Yeah,
a good.
we still feel like you're part of us. So you're our arm in Nashville.
Yeah, so, you know, anybody come over, just look me up, give me a call. If sometimes, depending on what's going on, if you need a place to stay, we may be able to put you up. But love to see everybody who may come through. We've seen a couple of people. Alexis came through with Choya a couple months ago, and we saw them for drinks one night when they were in town. And
Yeah,
then,
she said that she had a good time visiting with you.
yeah, we had a lot of fun, and so yeah, come on over. It's the water's fine.
All righty. Thank you for the invitation. Okay, so everybody hang in there. I'm going to stop the live feed from Facebook and we'll do our critiques. Let me stop it.